Hello and welcome to the news on Gilbert TV. I am Judith Peters, live in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu departed Abuja for Nairobi, Kenya, where he will join other African leaders for the 5th mid-year coordination meeting of the African Union. The meeting termed a celebration of African Continental Free Trade Area implementation will bring together the Bureau of the AU Assembly, comprising the heads of state and government from the Comoros, Botswana, Burundi, and Senegal, alongside leaders from the 8 regional economic communities. Tinubu will attend the meeting as the President of Nigeria and the newly appointed Chairman of the Economic Community of West African States, alongside his Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, and Dele Alake, his Special Advisor on duty. Communications and Strategy. The President is expected to return to Nigeria upon the conclusion of the meeting. A Nigeria Air Force FT-7NI training aircraft on Friday crashed at about 4:15 p.m. in Makurdi, Benue State capital, while on a routine training exercise. The NAV Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Edward Gaboit, confirmed this in a statement on Friday, stating that 2 pilots on board survived the crash after successfully ejecting from the aircraft. There was no loss of lives or damage to any property around the area of impact. Air Commodore Edward Gaboit said both pilots are currently under observation of NAV Base Hospital, Makurdi. Meanwhile, Chief of the Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Hassan Abubakar, has constituted a board of inquiry to determine the immediate and remote causes of the crash. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu met with His Royal Majesty Omo-Oba Nnedo Eku Apolopolo Ewere II, the Oba of Benin, and the Olugbon of Orile-Igbon, Oba Francis Olushola Alao, at the State House on Friday. Traditional rulers said they are meeting with the president to discuss some national issue that will bring prosperity to all Nigerians, and also pledge support and wish him a successful tenure. Prince Adegoke has the details.
Traditional rulers say Nigerians will enjoy prosperity at the end of the day, noting that the current administration means business, and the business is to serve the people to bring the dividends of democracy to all. The Oba of Benin called on other traditional rulers and Nigerians to support the president, who is already working.
He will work. He's already working. They should support the president, of course. We will support the president. Other traditional rulers will support the president. We must support the president to be successful.
Let all Nigerians be patient with him. He has kickstarted on a very positive direction, and there's no way you have gain without pain. We'll have the immediate pain, but we'll have a long-term gain. Nigerians will enjoy prosperity at the end of the day.
They also wish Nigeria peaceful coexistence, prosperous nation, and fulfilled country.
Wife of the President, Oluremi Tinubu, has met with the wives of the 36 state governors to formally introduce and acquaint them with the objectives and mission of the Renewed Hope Initiative. The meeting was held in her office at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. Our correspondent, Prince Adegoke, reports.
The First Lady congratulated the wives of the governors on the successful conduct of the 2023 elections, which brought their husbands to office, and reminded them that it is time to keep the promises made during elections. She pointed out that she would require the support of the wives of the state governors to reach every nook and cranny of the country, noting that looking at the past can most assuredly chart a path for the present and future, and this can best be done collectively for better and more sustainable impact. Senator Oluremi Tinubu assured the governors' wives that the Renewed Hope Initiative would in no way interfere with their personal programs and projects that she believes that would support and be impactful.
The mission is towards a better life for families. The goals: 1. To ensure women in Nigeria are engaged in productive activities that contribute to the socio-economic development of individuals, communities, and the nation at large. 2. to increase opportunities for women, youth, and children across the nation.
While speaking with journalists after the meeting, Ambassador Olufolake Abdulrazak, the wife of Kwara State Governor, assured of the willingness and commitment of the wives of the governors to support the Renewed Hope Initiative.
We listened to the mission of the Renewed Hope Initiative. We listened to all what we're planning to achieve. And so now we're very geared up to go back and get all the things that we've highlighted done. We will select, as you heard, students for scholarship. We will also go and intimate our local government chairmen, their wives, women leaders, and all the other stakeholders within the state on this initiative and how it will roll out in the state.
The Renewed Hope Initiative is a pet project of the Office of the First Lady of Nigeria, led by Senator Oluremi Tinubu.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu has assured women in the country that his administration is committed to ensuring that Nigeria is retrieved from the vested interests that have stifled our development. President Tinubu spoke on Thursday at the State House when he received in audience the All Progressive Congress women leader in the 36th state and federal capital territory, Abuja. Led by the APC national women leader, Dr. Betta Edu, our correspondent Prince Adegoke has the details.
President Bola Tinubu will receive the All Progressive Congress women leaders from across the country in the presidential villa, assure them that its use of security, healthcare system, and industrialization will be top on priorities of his administration. It tasked the APC women leaders to educate the citizens on the policies and programs of his administration with the awareness that the present difficulties are temporary. While appreciating the women leaders for the visit, President Tinubu praised them for their support during the campaigns and elections, adding that they all deserve awards for their efforts.
You are going through the brunt of the fuel subsidy. I know the pressure and the demand and lamentation. But you understand it much better. You are the one who can educate better the public to understand that we have to go through this. Cartel and thieves have been raping also and fleecing this country before now. You say enough is enough.
With his new role as ECOWAS chairman, President Tinubu told the visiting women that though his emergence would place on him additional responsibility, it would spur him to work even harder.
Good friends and accommodating to those who are not in our party, who might have extended the hand of election, who might have seen the victory and wanted to be part of it. Don't drive them away.
Earlier, APC national women leader Edu stated that the women had come to congratulate the president on his victory at the polls for the several good policies of his administration and for his election as ECOWAS chairman at the last summit.
We are about to say the first congratulations for becoming a president, and then we got the next shocker when ECOWAS elected the most powerful president on the continent of Africa as its chairman. From all of us, we are super proud and we say congratulations. Seated with you here today are women that have come to say thank you. Thank you for who you are to the Nigerian woman. Thank you because in the last couple of days when you rolled out your appointments, women did not just have the 35% of elective action we were asking for. Well, just in case you don't know, we have 40% right now.
The APC women leader appealed to the president to consider more women in appointments into government positions.
Governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, has made a case for state governors to be given more freedom to tackle security challenges at sub-national levels. Collaborating with the nation's federal structure, the governor made the disclosure while fielding questions from State House correspondents shortly after he met behind closed doors with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the presidential villa, Abuja. Our correspondent Prince Adegoke reports.
Governor Hope Uzodinma advocated latitude for governors to manage the affairs of the people and perform their functions effectively. Recall that while the federal government continues to detain the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, the Southeast has witnessed unrest owing to the sit-at-home directive still being enforced. Uzodinma stressed that while he has no security vote to draw from, even as the chief security officer of Imo State, he manages to adopt both kinetic and non-kinetic strategies to deal with security challenges as much as he is able to within the law.
In addressing the issue of insecurity, the southeastern part of the country, of course you are aware, has been bedeviled with this high level of insecurity, ranging from banditry, kidnapping, activities of non-government, to the extent that most of the states, out of the 5 states in southeastern part of the country, a lot of resources has been spent. Community efforts have been invested. Yet, the problem seems not to be abating. So the leadership of the zone met and agreed that working with the Forum of Governors from Southeast, that we will come to Mr. President to formally request his intervention and additional support from federal government to ensure that there is peace in the southeastern part of the country.
The governor insisted that the people of Southeast believe in the unity of Nigeria and, like other regions, deserve federal government support to enable them live their daily lives and go about their businesses. He, however, declined to give details of what the Southeast leaders would be demanding from Tinubu when the meeting holds. However, lamented that non-state actors have utilized fear and indiscriminate killings and brigandage to enforce an illegal sit-at-home on some days in the region.
There is no government directive for sit-at-home, neither local government directive, nor any state, nor the zone. But the situation is that because of the indiscriminate killing of people and the high level of insecurity, our people are so afraid to come out, not only because there is any sit-at-home order, but it's perception management that we are trying to do. So there's too much fear into the people that otherwise how can non-state actors give sit-at-home order and it will be obeyed?
The Imo State governor also added that because of the federal structure of the country, state governors are not at liberty to choose or reject security measures decided by the federal government.
We'll be going on a short break now. More news coming your way. Please stay with us. The Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Egbetokun, has flagged off the distribution of checks to cover insurance benefits to next of kin of officers who paid the supreme price and those who have suffered permanent deformities in the course of discharging their lawful duties. The total sum of checks presented to 68 Families of the deceased officers and those injured are disabled in the line of duty captured under the Group Life Assurance 2022/2023 policy year amounts to 535,680,788 naira 44 kobo. The IGP reiterated that the Nigeria Police Force, under his watch, firmly believes that the human life is valuable and prioritizes the well-being of officers and men of the force. Sandra Akpa reports.
The Acting Inspector General of Police says his leadership will promptly fulfill the obligation of providing insurance and other benefits to all police personnel who have sacrificed immensely for our beloved country by providing comprehensive welfare support aimed at creating an environment where every officer feels valued, protected, and motivated to give their best in service to our nation.
To announce that checks will be presented to a total of 68 families of deceased officers who lost their lives in the line of duty and are captured under the Group Life Assurance 2022/2023 policy year. The total sum of these checks amounts to 535,618,788 naira 44 kobo. This achievement would not have been possible without our passionate drive to ensure and sustain the mandate that police officers are adequately insured in the event of injury resulting from the risk associated with policing.
Similarly, the IGP received the sum of 70 million naira from Anchor Insurance Company Limited as a contribution for rebuilding the Kano State Command Headquarters, which suffered extensive damage due to a devastating fire incident on the 14th of January 2023. The IGP noted that the significant finance support will aid in restoring the command's infrastructure, bolstering its operational capabilities, and ensuring efficient and effective policing services to the residents of Kano State.
Yes. The men and women of the Nigeria Police Force have displayed unwavering dedication and selflessness in the face of grave danger. They have confronted countless challenges and often put their lives on the line to safeguard our communities. Regrettably, some have paid the ultimate price, while others have been left with debilitating injuries that alter the course of their lives forever. It is our duty to honor their sacrifices and recognize their immense contributions.
However, it is pertinent to note that this laudable gesture was made possible by the swift approach and passion of the Inspector General of Police, who has shown his zeal of unalloyed commitment to the welfare of officers and men of the Nigeria Police Force since his assumption of office.
The Inspector General of Police, while recognizing the incredible resilience and unwavering commitment of the men and women who have served and those who continue to serve on the front lines, extended his deepest gratitude to the gallant officers of the Nigerian Police Force for their commendable dedication, sacrifice, and unalloyed allegiance to upholding the values of justice and security. He reiterated that their loss and injuries leave a void that can never be filled, but their legacies will forever live on in the hearts of those they have touched. Sandra Akpa reporting for Global TV.
Thank you for joining us and welcome back. Operatives of the Ilori Zonal Command of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, have arrested 13 Chinese nationals over offenses bordering on illegal mining activities. In Ilori, Kwara State capital, the offenses contrary to and punishable under Section 1, Subjection 8B of the Miscellaneous Offences Act, Cap M17, 1983. Our correspondent Fauzia Lukman reports.
Basically, we arrested some illegal miners, some Chinese national. We got some credible intelligence, and then we've been on surveillance for a while, and then we were able to move in, and then we have them with us. And we are ensuring that the due processes of the law is followed by creation of law. So we follow strictly the law.
Briefing newsmen in Ilorin, the Ilorin Zonal Head of EFCC, Michael Ezekwe, says prior to the arrest, discreet investigation on the activities of illegal mining operators in Kwara State revealed that the operators have different illegal mining sites in almost all the 16 local government areas of the state. The suspects were also arrested for illegal production of marbles and were arrested at the house nearby the office of the EFCC. The EFCC head assured of ongoing investigation to arrest their Nigerian collaborators too, adding that the suspects will be arraigned in court upon the conclusion of the ongoing investigation.
There are 13 in number, a female and 12 male. They were arrested, like I said, for illegal mining. And they were mining in areas where they didn't have license to. And they were also into mining stones for quarry. They also breach the provisions of the Money Laundering Act. They don't have a SCUMO certificate. They're not registered with SCUMO. They don't pay royalty. There's no evidence of payment of royalty. Other issues are also being handled by immigration, a sister agency. So we're collaborating.
Fauzia Lukman, Global TV News.
The Election Petition Tribunal for the 2023 governorship election in Oyo State has dismissed a petition filed by the Allied People's Movement, APM, challenging the electoral victory of Governor Seyi Makinde in the March 18, 2023 governorship election for being frivolous and lacking merit. Counsel to the petitioner, sponsored by the party's national headquarters, are told to strike out the petition, having discovered that their governorship candidate, Adeniro Oluseyi, who was a major beneficiary to the litigation, and the state executives of APM had rescinded from pursuing legal action against Governor Seyi Makinde's election victory and congratulated him. Sandra Akwa has the details.
In her ruling, the three-man election petition tribunal, chaired by Honorable Justice Ejiro Emudianowo, with other members as Honorable Justice Baraka Wale, Honorable Justice I.S. Galedima, awarded a cost of 1 million naira each against the petitioner in favor of the first and second respondents respectively, with the first respondent being Seyi Makinde and the second being the PDP. Speaking at the ruling, counsel of the petitioner Henry Bello agreed with the ruling of the tribunal as justifiable, explaining that since the structure of the party in Oyo State had expressed apathy in the petition, it was only proper to dismiss the petition in the interest of peace and orderliness.
That our candidates have not only congratulated, the second and third respondents, but our candidate is a witness in the petition, which is supposed to be for his benefit, for the second and third respondents. So can we cry louder that the person who is supposed to benefit from our sources in the petition? Even though Section 221 of the Constitution says it is the political party that is the candidate, but in truth, it is a human being that will go and represent that party. That human being in this instance has capitulated and seconded and become a member, a key witness for our respondent.
The petition itself was dead on arrival. It was a very frivolous petition. Frivolous in the sense that even the candidate who contested against the governor was uploaded as one of the witnesses to the PDP. Even the chairman of APM, who is contesting the victory of the governor, happens to have been uploaded by one of the parties defending the petition. So ordinarily, this petition ought not to have been filed in the first place. And the tribunal rightly described it as frivolous, unnecessary, and without any iota of merit.
The ruling by the tribunal signals an end to the judicial assessment of the March 18th governorship election in Oyo State. Sandra Akpa reporting for Global TV.
The Director General National Youth Service Corps, Ahmed, in a nationwide address on Friday, wants the 2023 Badge B-Stream One Corps member to stay away from cultism and drug abuse, especially in the orientation camp. The DG stressed that anyone who violates the scheme, rule and regulation would be appropriately sanctioned. He also urged the Corps members to familiarize themselves with the provision of the NYC Act and the NYC bylaws in order to have successful service here. Ahmed admonished the Corps members to take full advantage of the 4 cardinal programs of the scheme, namely orientation, primary assignment, community development services, and passing out winding up activities to contribute their quota to national development. The Pension Fund Operators Association of Nigeria, PENOP, have emphasized the need for corporate organizations to prioritize mental health plans in their workplace. PENOP made the call over the weekend during a webinar titled Mental Health, Managing Stress and Depression, to educate professionals within the pension industry on leveraging mental health for lasting change. The association stressed the crucial role of mental health in overall well-being, highlighting the fact that good health encompasses physical, mental, social, spiritual, and financial aspects, going beyond the mere absence of diseases or infirmity. Oguche Aguda, the Chief Executive Officer of PENOP, emphasized the need for managers and business leaders to always look out for the total well-being of their subordinate and employees. He said the overall aim of the section was to equip pension professionals with the knowledge and tools to manage stress and achieve a healthy work-life balance. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has announced an increase in visa application fee made by immigrants. The announcement came after a speech regarding an increase in public sector wages. Sunak confirmed the total funding for the wage increase will be raised from the foreign migrants who come to the United Kingdom to live and work, adding that the surcharge paid for the state-funded National Health Service, NHS, from visa applicants by migrants will increase significantly. Sunak had said a few weeks earlier at the United States Embassy that he would be increasing fees for processing non-immigrant visa application. The U.S. Embassy, according to a statement on its website, said the new fees for various visa categories will be implemented from June 17, 2023. Sunak explained that this was entirely right, as the fees have not been increased recently. According to Sunak, this move will not make effect on inflation because there would be no new borrowing or spreading to fund the increases. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has directed international money transfer operators, also called IMTOs, to commence remittances payout in both Naira and foreign exchange to beneficiaries. It has also directed that investors and exporters window for its exchange rate to be used in determining the exchange rate for Naira payout. In a circular issued by the Director of Trade and Exchange at the Apex Bank, Dr. Ozomena Inaji, dated July 10, 2023, the regulator said the decision was in furtherance to an earlier circular dated November 30, 2022, which provided guidelines on the payout policy of diaspora remittances to beneficiaries. The November 30, 2022 circular introduced the payment of dollars to beneficiaries of diaspora remittances through the designated bank of their choice and will own restricted access to their funds. Recall that CBN had mid-last month announced the unification of all segments of the Nigeria forex market by collapsing all windows into the investors and exporters, known as I&E window. Red alerts have been issued for 16 cities across Italy as extreme heat continues to affect southern Europe. The alerts, which indicate risks even for healthy people, apply to tourist hotspots including Rome, Florence and Bologna for the coming days. More high temperature and expected in Europe next week. As another heat wave approaches, the Italian government has advised anyone in the areas covered by Saturday's red alerts to avoid direct sunlight between 11 and 6 and to take particular care of the elderly or vulnerable. The Red Cross has been offering water and first aid at the site, which sits on a rocky hilltop and offers little shade to visitors. There are also fears of a greater risk of wildfire, especially in the area with the high winds. The current heat wave in Europe has been named Cerberus by the Italian Meteorological Society. After the three-headed monster, the features of Dante's Inferno, Italian weather forecasters were warning that the next heat wave doubled Charon after the ferryman who delivered souls into the underworld in Greek mythological could punish temperature back up above 40 degrees Celsius next week. Heat waves are also being seen in part of the U.S., China, North Africa, and Japan. Nigeria's quarter of the Tobi Amusan, Favour Ofili, Rosemary Chukwuma and Grace Wokocha won the gold in the 4x100-meter race at the Games last year. However, the Commonwealth Games Federation has announced Nigeria's sprinter Nzubuche Grace Wokocha has turned an adverse finding in a sample for 2 banned anabolic agents. Wokocha's result from the 100-meter to 200-meter and sprint relay has been declared void, with the issue of an anti-doping infrastructure passed on the Athletics Integrity Unit for any possible further sanctions. Following the development, England's 4x100-meter women's relay team, who finished second behind Nigeria at the 2022 Commonwealth Games, have now been upgraded to gold. England's promotion to gold means they have retained the Commonwealth relay title, the Jamaican awarded second place, and Australia taking bronze. And that's it on the news. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a good one.
A very good evening to you. Thank you everyone for joining us here on Global Television. We're live in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I'm Uyag Mofwegwe. It's always a delight to have you join us here on our programs. So just to give you heads up quickly as to what our conversation will center on this evening. Of course, we've been talking time and again about the impacts, some people say the adverse impacts of the removal policy on fuel. Today we know that the federal government, in a bid to alleviate the pains that come with this policy, has moved real quick to put measures in place. First, we see that the state is trying, the federal government is making an effort to reach out to states in a way, by way of trying to just help cushion the effects of this policy. Plus, we've seen the president advancing two requests, basically, one to the Senate and the other to the House of Representatives. The one to the Senate being representative of, a demand for
if you like, some sort of soft landing, all right, $800 million we hear, which we also know, for example, that the Senate has, if you like, graciously approved, and the other is 500 billion naira request sent to the lower chamber of the National Assembly, that is the House of Reps, and it has also been approved. However, in the middle of all that, we now see some persons who think otherwise about this initiative, as commendable as some people say they are. For instance, we're seeing people from the opposition, including the People's Democratic Party and Sowore, who also was a candidate in the last presidential election, saying that this will not make any difference. In fact, they are saying, in the end, the 8,000 naira palliative that the federal government is proposing to hand out to 12 million households will come down ultimately to 53 naira per day. And let's say that is infinitesimal. Some have even gone ahead to say it is the president or the federal government's scheme to siphon public funds. However, we want to concern ourselves here on Global Television with what government is doing and how much of difference, whether for the better or for the worse, that makes in the lives of Nigerians and the grand scheme of things. Tonight I have joining me from Ontario, Canada, a Nigerian who is very, very passionate about humanitarian projects and how social intervention measures can reach those who have been targeted. Akintunde Harif Akerele is the co-founder of Food Click Support Initiative, a non-profit that is striving to eradicate hunger through provision of palliative, whether they're perishable or not perishable, to the vulnerable, and also proffering short to long-term sustainable solutions to food insecurity in Nigeria. Harif, I can't say thank you enough for deciding to jump on this one on a very short, very short notice tonight. All right, so I'm just going to get right through to it, and just help me make sense of really what your assessment has been with regards to the removal of subsidy on petrol in Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Uyi, for having me. I think the only difference between myself and yourself is the fact that you're having on your suit. Is summer here, so there's no point wearing the suit. It's going to be a lot, warm here. So that's why I'm not able to put on my suit so that we can have matching, outfit. But all the way, everything is fine. Thank you very much for having me once again. I would like to start by saying that I've never seen any Nigerian that is against the subsidy removal of the subsidy removal, because this has been like a burden in the Nigerian society. And unfortunately, people that have been benefactor of this is not the common man. It's not someone like myself and yourself. It has been the elite. It has been the rent seeker. And also, to add insult to injury, it has been our neighboring countries who have been the benefactor of this, how do I call it, the clog in the wheel of Nigerian progress. And it's also a huge leakage in the Nigerian system. And let me give you a context of how much that leakage has affected Nigerian society. Since the removal of fuel subsidy, the average consumption of fuel per day has reduced by 28%, from 48.3 million liters of from 66.9 million liters of petrol to 48.4 million. That's a lot. That's a lot. And imagine how much we are going to be saving at the end of the year, which can also translate into helping us reduce or minimize our debt burden in Nigeria. So that is long overdue. And I thank also the government for taking the initiative to be able to, and the bold step to be able to take this, this leakage out of our system. And I hope that whatever that is coming out of this fuel subsidy would benefit the average Nigerian.
Thank you so very much for that point you have just made so far. But I want to push you on something else real quick, right? Some persons have questioned the timeliness or otherwise of this removal. Of course, they say it's long overdue. Fuel subsidy should go. But they are saying the timeliness is an issue. They are saying this is something government ought to have in the first instance done in phases, or if you like, beat by beat. Do you share that sentiment?
in my humanitarian space, which I'm very much passionate about, whatever that is going to impact negatively on on human is something that we should always try as much as possible to minimize. And one thing I feel about the government is there's no better time to take out this subsidy removal. And I think government has taken it in its stride to be able to provide palliative in form of what some of the things that it is proposing at this time. I just hope that some of this palliative that is being proposed will get to the hands of those that are most vulnerable in Nigeria, so that we can have this impact cushioned, to a large extent. And also, I would also think that government should find a way to be able to, provide this intervention in such a way that it is not politicized.
Our guest there, Akintide, for a minute. We're going to rejoin him as quickly as possible. In the meantime, was making a point as to the idea and then the timeliness of this removal policy in light of the impact it's now having on Nigeria. Of course, it's also putting pressure on government, no doubt about that. But we're just going to help you make sense of all of this and more when we return from this break. Do stay with us. Akintide, thank you for rejoining us here. I just wanted to get back real quick to the point you were making a while ago about whether or not you believe that whatever measures the government is putting in place at the moment are robust enough considering the enormity of task that needs to be addressed.
I saw that intervention and I went through all of the things government is proposing. I would say they are more of a long-term plans. The only short-term plan is the proposed 500 billion, 12 million families. But every other thing is a sustainable long-term plans that are being, proposed by government, which includes like the year-round agriculture, mechanization, which is long overdue, the synergy between, the Ministry of Water and Agriculture. These are long-term impact. But on the short term, what I think that government, because I have had this argument that government is providing palliative, which is not sufficient. Government is not supposed to provide all our needs, but government is supposed to provide something that at least would help us be able to reduce the impact of whatever situation that we are going through. For example, Canada is currently providing new grocery rebates to people that are eligible families that because of the fact that since pandemic, the prices of commodities globally has increased. The palliative that this government, the new grocery rebates that the Canadian government is proposing will not be sufficient to feed those families or individuals for the whole month. But at least the government is trying in its own effort to be able to minimize the impact. So let me break down the government impact to you in numbers. Now, if we have 8,000 families, 8,000 naira to 12 million families for 6 months. What it translates to, if we multiply that, is about 576 billion naira or thereabouts. Now, at Food Click Support Initiative, which we provide intervention, 8,000 naira packed food will contain semo, will contain gari, will contain rice, will contain, basic food stuff. And that basic food stuff would feed a family of 4 to 5 in about a week. Now, imagine the ripple effect of having that 8,000 naira in individual family. What it means is you are going to be talking about 5 times 12 million people every month. So 5 times 12 people every month is about 60 million people that is going to be impacted every month. At least the burden of where their food will come from for a week will have been minimized because of that impact that amount will have on government, will have on the common man. I'm not speaking for government, but I'm just saying we should be realistic. This is how it is done globally. Government will not solve all of our problems, but they will provide an avenue to be able to minimize things that are long-term. And the government has, in conjunction with all of these short-term measures, it has also proposed the long-term measures of having a robust agri system where we can have a food-secure Nigeria. because the more we are able to produce our own food, the better we have. The only shortcoming that I found in the intervention is the fact that government is proposing to create a new board to review prices. I'm not sure the review of prices is more or less like you are trying to do a direct price control, which is not the best way to go about it. Because if government is going to control prices, you are going to disincentivize farmers. You are going to bring about strife, because Nigeria is currently dependent on importation of foods and all of that. So it's not going to help in the long run. But if we're able to have those measures that government is trying to provide in terms of a sustainable agriculture, then what it means is more farmers will come into play. We'll have larger supply of agri-produce, and naturally, when we have a large amount of agri-produce in supply, what do you think? The prices will definitely drop. So that's just what I think that government should do. But trying to control the prices will stifle and will disincentivize the production of agriculture. While we are trying to bring in more people, we will try to discourage people from going into agriculture because the prices are paid. But let the prices come alive by itself, just like government is thinking of fuel subsidy, FX policy. I think this is the way to go. And I think that's what government should do. They should not regulate. They should try and let the market control itself, allow those other robust policies of agricultural incentives, farm mechanization, and all of those things that will encourage more people to go into farming be, because that's the only way we can have a food secure society. Food security is not just about providing palliatives to people. It's also about long-term solutions which can only be provided or preferred by agriculture, by having a robust agricultural infrastructure.
Generally concerned about what Nigeria borrowing profile stands at. I mean, debt profile, I should say, the debt stock, some people call it, stands at today. But then we see more borrowing happening, especially in the face of these policy, fuel subsidy removal policy. For example, there are two requests by the president now, which have been granted. One to the Senate, the other one to the House of Representatives. Do you think it's smart enough, I mean, regardless of how much of a sincerity or purpose government may have, to go ahead to borrow more just because we want to solve one problem? Because some people say most times what we do in Nigeria is, in a bid to solve one problem, we create 4 more problems. Do you think that's what we're dealing with here?
Oyi, I need to be sincere with you and upfront. There is nothing wrong in government borrowing money. America today has a debt profile of $32 trillion. And they are still proposing a $5 billion infrastructure project for the American population, because they know that in the investment infrastructure is where you see seasonal jobs. There's always money that is recycled within the system that allows, and infrastructure is investment. Current debt profile of Nigeria stands as about more than $100 billion. The sincerity of purpose is what would amplify the essence of the borrowing. And if government is sincere in its borrowing and its plan to use those borrowing or spending to create a better agricultural infrastructure where we can produce all that we need as a country, we have infrastructure, rail infrastructure, we have all the necessary infrastructure, transportation, electricity, and all of those things. Trust me, Nigerians will not complain because we are very, very enterprising. And if we have a very good infrastructure, if those borrowing is invested judiciously into infrastructure, we will be able to have an emergent middle class where we will also attract foreign direct investment into Nigeria. If this is the level at which the government is thinking to be able to think in borrowing, definitely I don't have a problem with that. But if it's going to be otherwise, it's counterproductive.
But I just have 2 more issues to have you address right now. The organized labor in Nigeria is now saying that while on the one hand they agree totally that whatever it is the government is doing at this point, particularly the 500 billion naira request sent to the House of Representatives, is not far-reaching. They are also saying the government should do an upward review of workers' salaries by 300%, operative 300%. Is that economically realistic?
Uyi, trust me, you smiled when or you winked when you said it. It's not realistic. Let's be sincere with ourselves. And I must say that the current wage or whatever salary that is being earned in Nigeria is not sufficient as a living wage, which is on the line. Everybody needs to agree on that. Because the economic realities that we face in Nigeria now, 18,000 naira or 30,000 naira that is, the benchmark, is not even enough to cater for those needs, I must say. But asking or requesting for 300% upward review, I'm not sure is realistic. Because number one, currently we don't have the capacity to be able to pay that amount of money. Of course, I understand that on the side of government needs to also cut costs on how much expenditure is being made or how much is being spent on governance. It's too ridiculous. The amount is so much that we need to cut costs on governance so that we can invest those money into all those intervention programs, into infrastructure, into a lot of things that will affect and impact the lives of average Nigerians.
We have just a few more minutes before we wrap it up, but I would like you to quickly react to something. I'm sure you've been following the news back at home, even though you are based in North America. The president declared state of emergency on food security and also mentioned very specifically of how that 500,000 hectares have been secured to help expand that frontiers with regards to food security and all of the elements around it. You are no stranger to these issues, I suppose. Would you like to react to that?
Yeah, I think I laid some of my, my concerns in respect to the policy. A lot has been said. I think what encapsulates the entirety of what government is trying to talk about is that they're trying to evolve a sustainable agricultural plan that will ensure that Nigeria is able to feed itself or herself. So, and the only reservation, like I said, all the plans are fantastic. Mechanization plans in Nigeria is long overdue. We have limited number of tractors across Nigeria, which a serious country that is a country that is serious about feeding our citizens or food security would take very, very seriously. There are a lot of ways that we can expand on our agricultural, on sustainable agriculture. And if we are not able to do that, we can sufficiently feed ourselves. The food security, the emergency declaration by government or the president would mean nothing. Will amount to nothing, because at the end of the day, we'll not be able to meet up with what the expectations that those interventions or those plans should meet. So, but the only thing or the reservation that I have on the side of government is, while you're trying to do all of those things, government should not control the prices. I saw that in the policy, and I'm vehemently against it, because we are an importing economy. We still import some of our goods. And if we control the price, what it means is it sends a wrong signal to those that are current players and to those that are intended players, and even to foreign direct investors that are planning on investing in agricultural food chain. I know a lot of things. We still have a hugely disconnected value chain within our agricultural system. Let me give you an example. In 2016, Netherlands made about $16 billion from cocoa and cocoa derivatives. And Nigeria, and Netherlands doesn't even produce anything, none of that. So, but imagine that Nigeria, that is one of the largest cocoa producing states in the world, is only able to make a meager, I think about $144 million. You can see the disparity. So we need a lot in building that value chain. We need a lot, we have a lot to do in trying to build a more robust and a more sustainable agricultural food chain. And we can do it. But we just need the will and the commitment of government to those policies that it has highlighted in the plan. And I think if government is able to implement a lot of it and review some of the things that have been, mentioned in the plan, a lot of things can be done, and we can have a more sustainable and robust and structure in Nigeria that will feed Nigerians and that will make food production a lot more cheaper for people to be accessible, and it's also going to be equitable, because when the prices of food are competitively low, people are able to afford it, and that's my take.
Much, it's a fine place to leave it on this conversation. I've been talking with Akintunde Harif Akerele. He's the co-founder of Food Click Support Initiative, a non-profit that is striving to eradicate hunger through provision of palliative, perishable and non-perishable food. Thank you, Akin. We can't appreciate you enough for helping us make sense of this conversation. We'll hope to talk more about several of these very burning issues as they relate to Nigeria. That's what we're living it, everyone. Thank you for joining us here on Global Television Dinner Conversation. I am Wiyag Mofwegbe. Enjoy the rest of your evening.